Okay, so this video is meant for my Concepts of Algebra 2 students. We have a quiz coming up on Thursday covering sections 5.3 through 5.5, all about factoring. So this is going to give you some problems to kind of look off of. Hopefully you do this and bring this in on Thursday. So we'll just jump around here. We're going to factor this expression, and here's our problem, x squared minus 3x minus 28. Okay, so what I will do here is I will notice that there is no a value. Okay, so that's a good thing because this problem is not too bad. So we just have to look at the factors of c. Okay, and c is negative 28. Now what I'll also do at the same time is I'll identify my signs. If c is negative, that means you have different signs, and if b is negative, that means the bigger number is going to be negative. So when I list out my factors, my big number will be negative. So factors of 28 are 1 and 28. Now, the big number is negative, the small number is positive. Am I looking for a sum or difference of negative 3? Well, 1 minus 28 is negative 27. That's not going to cut it. Next, 2. 2 goes into 28 14 times. The bigger number is negative. This gives me negative 12. No, that's not what I'm looking for. 3 does not go into 28. 4 goes into 28 7 times. The bigger number is negative. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. There's the two numbers I'm looking for. Positive 4 and negative 7. So when I do this, we will put our two parentheses. It is x, and I put a plus 4 and a negative 7. I'm going to check my answer real fast by foiling. X squared minus 7x plus 4x minus 28, x squared minus 3x minus 28. That's exactly what I started with, so this is my answer, the factored form. Okay, here's the next problem. We're going to solve the quadratic equation. Alright, and here we go. We have z squared plus 10z equals negative 16. Your first step in solving these problems is to make it say equals 0. This problem does not say equals 0. So to make it say equals 0, I'm going to add 16 to both sides. Now on the left here, there is no number to add 16 to, so it just becomes z squared, and you can use x's if you want to, plus 10z plus 16. And on the right side, the 16's cancel. There's my equals 0. Good. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to factor this. There is no a, so there's no common factor. So I'm looking for the factors of 16. And again, below this, I'm going to do the signs. 16 is positive. That means you have the same signs. So since the b is positive, you're looking for both positive symbols. So when I list out my factors, I'm going to put plus and plus. Factors of 16 are 1 and 16. Plus and plus, that is 17. I'm looking for 10. That doesn't work. 2 and 8. Plus and plus, there's my 10. Hey, I got it. So here are my two numbers. So in my two parentheses, go z plus 2 and z plus 8. Now do not forget that you have this equals 0, which you must bring down. And now there is multiplication right here. You're looking for the two values of z. Okay? One's going to make this 0, or one's going to make z plus 8 0. So to do that, we set each one equal to 0. And we'll find the two values of z. Subtract 2, z equals negative 2, or subtract 8. And z equals negative 8. And here are the two solutions to this problem. If you want to check, if you plug it back in, you should get negative 16 on the left side. And you can always check on your own. And if you have time, do that. I suggest it. Very good. Okay, here's our next problem. It says a cafe has an outdoor patio. The patio is a rectangle. Okay, and the original patio was 20 by 30 feet. He wants to add 464 square feet to the area of the patio by expanding the existing patio as shown. So notice he extends it to the top and extends it to the right. So the question is, how many feet should the length and width of the patio be extended? So basically the question is, find x. Alright, I'm going to use blue here. Find x. Well, this is an areas problem, okay? area is length times width. So, first of all, what was the original patio's area? So the patio was 20 by 30. That's 600 feet squared. Okay, so the additional space they want to add is 464 feet squared. So that gives us a total area of 600 and 464. That's 1064 feet squared. So this entire patio is 1064 feet squared. Now, what are the length and width of the new patio? Well, you had an original patio of 20 by 30, and you added x to each side. So this right here is going to be 20 plus x. And this over here, I'll do it right here, is going to be 30 plus x. Those are the new dimensions of your space. So these dimensions cover this space right here. All of that. 30 plus x and 20 plus x. Those are the two dimensions I'll multiply to get this total area. So to do this problem, we will do 30 plus x times 20 plus x equals the entire area of 1064. And we're looking for x. Okay, so here's what I will do. I have to get this to say equals 0. But before I do that, I have to multiply all this out. That stinks. 30 times 20 is 600. So I'm doing first, outer, plus 30x, inner, plus 20x, and last, plus x squared. Combine your middle terms and put the x squared first. X squared plus 50x plus 600 equals 1064. Now to make this say equals 0, I'm going to subtract 1064 on both sides. So I will get x squared. This should say 50x, I'm sorry. Let me erase that and add that in. Right, 50x. So this should say x squared plus 50x. This is now minus 646, and this cancels out, becomes 0. And now here's the problem. What are the factors of negative 646? Or negative 464. What am I doing? 464. Not thinking. Alright. Well, again, C is negative. That means your signs are different. Since the B is positive, that means that will be the bigger number. So, 1 and 464. The bigger number is positive. The smaller number is negative. That gives me 463. That's not 50. I'm looking for 50. 2 and 232. Bigger number is positive. That gives me 230. That's not 50. 3. Does 3 go into 464? I don't think so. 4. I bet you 4 does. 4 and 116. Bigger number is positive. I get 112. That's not 50, but I'm getting closer. 5, I don't think so. What about 6? 6 and 70. Nope. 6 doesn't work. 7. Nope. 7 doesn't work. 8. 8 and 58. They work. Bigger number is positive, smaller number is negative. And there's a difference of 50. There we go. There's the magic numbers. Negative 8 and positive 58. So in my parentheses with my x's, go negative 8 and positive 58. This says equals 0. Do not forget to bring it down and solve. Set each one equal to 0 and solve. X is 8. Subtract 58, x is negative 58. Now if I think about the problem, I'm trying to add some length, so why would I make it negative? I wouldn't. So I'm going to cross up the negative 58. So how wide or how much should I extend? I should extend by 8 feet. And there's the answer to this word problem. Alright, here's the next one we're going to look at. Factor the expression. 12r squared plus 44r plus 24. Notice there's an a value, so now I'm looking for a common factor. First thing, 12, 44, 24, common factor is 4. Now because this is an expression, the 4 goes here, and I just do divide all by 4. Okay? But the 4 has to stay here. So I get 3r squared, I get 11r, and I get 6. Okay? Now, I'm going to do this by the guess and check method, okay? I want to do one of each. Guess, check. Alright? So, my A is 3, my C is 6. And again, A being 3, there's only one set of factors, 1 and 3. I know I have to use those. Now, 6, there's some choice. But I know I have to use 1 and 3. So remember, we look for our parentheses, the outer, the inner. So I'm going to actually do it over here, okay? So outer is A times C, A and C. The inner is backwards, C times A. Alright. Now let me take a look at my signs. My C is positive. A positive C means the same sign. So then I look at B. B is positive, so they're positive and positive. So I have the same signs. Okay, so I'm going to add to get to this 11 in the middle. Well, I know my A's are 1 and 3. So how do I get 11? Well, 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to do that. 3 goes here. That means the 2 goes here. And what do I get? 2 and 9. They have to both be plus signs. There's 11. Check. I have my right numbers. So I'll fill in the outer. The outer is 1 times 2. The inner is 3 times 3. The first numbers get x's, and they're both plus signs, but just to help you, this is plus, so the plus goes in front of the 2. The inner is also plus, so the plus goes in front of this 3. And there are your factors, x plus 3 and 3x plus 2. I'm going to scroll down and check this real fast, so we'll check. By foiling, 3x squared plus 2x plus 9x plus 6. 3x squared plus 11x plus 6. That is exactly what we got right there. Okay, exactly what I have. Now notice I did change the x's, okay? So over here I'll write the final answer. Not x, r. They are r's. R plus 3, 3r plus 2, and then the 4, don't forget about that 4, goes way out in front. And there you go. Here's a guess and check method. If you don't like guess and check method, I challenge you to do it using AC method and see if you get the right answer still. Okay, next here we will find the zeros of the function. So here's the function y equals 4x squared minus 16x plus 15. When it says find the zeros, immediately cross off y and put a 0. So this problem is 4x squared minus 16x plus 15 equals 0. Okay, I first look for a common factor. The common factor for 16, 15, no common factor. Bummer. So now I'm going to use the AC method. AC method. So I will find what AC is. AC is 4 times 15, and 4 times 15 is 60. There is my new magic number. Now, since C is positive, the signs will be the same. B is negative, that means your same signs will both be negative. And now we're looking for the factors of 60. The factors of 60 will start with 1 and 60. Now, since these signs are the same, they're both negative, 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 negative 61. That is not negative 16. I want negative 16. So the next factors, 2 and 30. Negative, negative, that's negative 32. I'm getting closer. Next, 3 and 20. Negative, negative, negative 23. Still closer to 16. 4 and 15. Negative, negative, negative 19. Getting closer. 5 and 12. Negative, negative, negative 17. Oh, almost there. 6 and 10. Negative, negative, negative 16. Boom. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Now, in the AC method, it's not as simple. You have to do an extra step, and that extra step is you have to rewrite the problem. This negative 6x, negative 10x is what we break the middle term into. So over here I will rewrite 4x squared, and now instead of negative 16x, I'm going to break it apart. Negative 6x minus 10x. So that's the negative 16x is right there. And then the plus 15 comes. All right. So I need to erase that, because now in this process we identify the first two and the second two. And we look for a common factor between the first two terms. I know that 4 and 6 share a 2, and they each have at least one x, so I can pull an x out. This becomes 2x, and this becomes negative 3. That x came out. Now the minus sign comes down, and we look for the common factor between 10 and 15. That is 5. Now you're pulling out a negative 5, so when you take negative 10 divided by negative 5, it's 2. The x comes down because you're not touching the x. When you do a 15 divided by negative 5, you get negative 3. So now you see that this repeats. This 2x minus 3 repeats. That comes way out in front. Cross it off, and you're left with 2x minus 5. And there's your two factors. Now we cannot forget, this started with equals 0. Put it in there. You're trying to find the zeros, the x values that make this function 0. So that's just solving for x. 2x minus 3 equals 0. 2x minus 5 equals 0. Two steps in both cases. Add 3. Divide by 2. X is 3/2. Over here, add 5. Divide by 2. And 5/2. So here are the two zeros, here are the two zeros for this function, 3/2 and 5/2. And this is an example of the AC method. Okay, here's our next problem. It's another word problem. It says you planted an urban vegetable garden that is a rectangle. The width of the garden is 8 feet. The length is 12 feet. You want to plant a border of flowers. The border will have the same width on every side, and the border will have the same area as the garden. What should the width of the border be? All right. So here we go. Let's draw a little picture. So I start with a rectangle. Here's my 8 feet by 12 feet. So this is my garden. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a border. So I'll change colors. I'm going to put a border. And this border will be full of flowers. And the width is going to be the same everywhere. So x here, x there. Okay? That's what we want to find. What should the width be? Let's find x. Okay, so how do we do this problem? Well, it's an areas problem again. All right, so we just look for areas. And remember, areas, length times width. So what was the original area of the garden? Well, the garden is 8 by 12. That's 96 feet squared. Now, the sentence right here, the border will have the same area as the garden. Well, if the garden has 96 feet squared, then the border also is 96 feet squared, which means that the total area is going to be 96 and 96. That is 192 feet squared. So this right here, this entire thing, is 192 feet squared. So what is the length and width of the entire thing? Well, they each started off with the basic 8 and 12, so 12 here, but then you added x here and x here. You added two x's. Here, it started out as 8, and you added x here and x here. That's two x's. 8 plus 2x and 12 plus 2x. There's the length and width of the new garden that has the border with it. So these two lengths and widths multiplied together give you that total area. So 8 plus 2x times 12 plus 2x should give you the border 192. Alright, so we needed to say equals 0, but before we do that, we have to distribute. Okay, so we do 8 times 12 is 96. 8 times 2x is 16x. 2x times 12 is 24x. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. That equals 192. Let's combine our middle terms and put our x squared first. 4x squared plus 40x plus 96 equals 192. I'm going to subtract 192 so that it does say equals 0. 4x squared plus 40x plus, not plus, minus 96 equals 0. And now here is the quadratic that I'm here to solve. All right, common factor. They do 4. And since it's an equation, we can just divide through by 4. And we get x squared plus 10x minus 24 equals 0. And hey, how exciting that the a went away. Do you see how there's no a anymore? You see that? So this is a simpler problem. We just look at the factors of c. Now c is negative. Different signs. B is positive. The bigger number is positive. So first 24. 1 and 24. The bigger number is positive. Smaller number is negative. That's 23. 2 and 12. Bigger number is positive. Smaller number is negative. There's 10. Hey, there's what I'm looking for. The 10x in the middle. So there's my two magic numbers that go in my parentheses with x's. And again, it's because a disappeared. X minus 2. X plus 12. It does say equals 0. So bring that down and solve. X minus 2 equals 0. X plus 12 equals 0. Add 2. X equals 2. Subtract 12. X equals negative 12. I'm going to extend the garden, so I'm not going to use a negative length. So your answer is 2. So the width is 2. And I believe everything was in terms of feet. Yes. So that width of the border is 2 feet. Alright, look for those common factors. They make the problem easier. Alright, so 2 more problems. Factor the expression. Here we go. We have 100x squared minus 1. Remember that last section is all about perfect squares. Look at your first and last terms. Look for perfect squares. This one only has 2 terms. Now, we look at 100 and 1. X squared is already a perfect square. 100 is also a perfect square. Rewrite 100 as 10 squared. X squared is already x squared. And now 1. 1 is... 1 to any power is 1, so yeah, 1's a perfect square. And there's your numbers. 10x and 1. Now, when you have 2 things squared, they go together. 10x minus 1. And because, you notice there's only 2 terms, that middle term is gone, it's because the signs are different. 10x plus 1. And there's the factor. Boom, done. Okay, last problem right here, another finding the zeros. So here's our function. Y equals 36x squared plus 84x plus 49. When you're looking for the zeros, immediately cross off y, put a 0. So then our new function, 36x squared plus 84x plus 49 equals 0. Big number, so there's got to be a common factor. Turns out I don't think there is one. So it's like, oh my gosh, these are huge numbers. Well, wait. Look at your first and last terms. 36, 49. Those are perfect squares. 36 is 6 squared. 49 is 7 squared. Let's see if it's the perfect squares. So that means that 6 would go here, 6x and 6x. The 7 goes in the C spots here and here. Now, your C is positive, same sign. So the B is positive, so that means your same signs are both positive. Now let's check real fast before we keep going. And I'll check right over here. So we do get 36x squared plus 42x plus 42x plus 49. 36x squared plus 84x plus 49. Hey! That works. Awesome. Now, this was a finding of zeros, so there is this equals 0 that you must take care of. So set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So we subtract 7. 6x equals negative 7. Divide by 6. So we get negative 7, 6. Subtract 7. 6x equals negative 7. Divide by 6. And you get the same answer, but who cares? You get 2 answers. That's all that matters. All these problems always have 2 answers. Okay, so hopefully you find this helpful. I know it's a bit long. I apologize, but it'll be useful on your quiz coming up on Thursday. All right, happy studying.